Hi guys, my name is Daisel and welcome to my channel. It is very exciting because we are fast approaching the Singapore Grand Prix and it is my home GP. As you can see, I'm wearing my Vettel Singapore jumper. If you don't know, I have a merch line called the Slipstream Apparel and we are releasing more merch like this very soon, so stay tuned. All the link is down in my bio. But yes, Seb owns my heart and he is the lion of the Singapore streets, so he is the reason why I started watching F1 and that's why I have to pay homage to him. Anyways, if you are traveling to Singapore and if you're coming to the Singapore GP for the first time, I am here to give you tips and tricks and what to expect when you go to the Singapore Grand Prix. Before we start, I'm going to give a disclaimer because all the information that I'm giving is currently based on research and my past experience going to the Singapore Grand Prix years ago. When I was younger, I used to go to the races all the time. But as I had been away for quite a number of years, this year is actually my first home Grand Prix since relocating back to Singapore. So I do not know what to expect for this year and I don't actually really know how much it's changed in organization since the years that I've been to. The last one I went to was in 2016. I did have friends, however, who went last year, so I do know some of their experiences and tips that they've given me as well. So let's get into it because it's gonna be crazy. So first and foremost, getting your tickets. Tickets sell out pretty quick, but what I've realized that the Singapore GP are doing, they are releasing new grandstands constantly. There are grandstands that I have never even heard of and they're just popping up here and there. And I'm just confused because I'm thinking, where do you even have the space to put them up? But there are so many different kinds of grandstands now. Back then when I went, there was like a couple here and there and it was very, very limited. But I guess now to meet the demand, they've opened so many grandstands and there are so many different ticket options. Getting your tickets, the best place to get your tickets from is literally the singaporegp.sg website. That's where all the tickets are sold. It's the most trustworthy one and it is by the official organizers. So there are an incredible amount of packages, different types of hospitality packages. As we know, Singapore is one of the most expensive and most prestigious elite races on the calendar. It's just a lot of money, but there are the affordable options as well. There are walkabout tickets as well as grandstand tickets. The one thing you have to take note when purchasing the Singapore Grand Prix tickets is that they are categorized by zones. We have 4 different zones. Zones 1 is the main pit area and the paddock club and everything fancy like that. We've got zone 2, which is around the Singapore Flyer, and I don't really think there's much things there, but there's still like food and amenities and stuff like that. I think there's access to like the pit entry and stuff. And then zone 3 is basically just a walking zone. It just helps you get from zone 2 to 4 basically. And then zone 4 is the main fan zone area. It's where all the entertainment acts are. It's where the big main stage is. And that's the main walkabout area. So when you want to purchase walkabout tickets, there's 2 types of tickets. There's the zone 4 walkabout and it'll only allow you access to that zone 4. So if you are interested in watching like the concerts and you don't want to walk around too much, or it's mainly meant for people who kind of want to see the music acts but don't really care about the race, they like to purchase the walkabout zone 4 tickets. And that is by far like the cheapest option. And then you have the premier walkabout tickets, which allows you access to zones 1 to 4. The thing is, for like the driver meet and greets, like the ones that you see on stage where the drivers will come out on stage, they will only come out on the stage that is in zone 1. So if you don't have access to zone 1, unfortunately you can't walk there to see it. Unlike in Silverstone, where your ticket just allows you access to the entire circuit and you're free to go to the main stage to see the drivers, In Singapore, only if you have access to Zone 1, then you're allowed to go for that meet and greet session. The meet and greets are only on Fridays and Saturdays, if I'm not wrong. So if you need Zone 1 access, make sure to get it for those days. So there's also the combination packages, which are really interesting because they give you a different grandstand for every day. And it gives you a different view, a different angle of the track. You know, the Marina Bay Circuit is a street circuit, and that means you can't oversee the whole circuit. So having a combination package ticket will give you different viewpoints from different parts of the track on every day. And I find that pretty interesting. So for my Padang combination ticket, on the Friday, which is free practice, I have access to the Stamford Grandstand. On the second day, I have access to the pit grandstand, so that's where I'll be watching qualifying. And on the third day, I'll have access to the Padang Grandstand, which is in Zone 4, which is where I'll watch the race. There are different combinations based on what you purchase. So there's the Stamford Grandstand package, there's the pit grandstand package, and it basically is kind of a rotation of these 3 grandstands, and it depends on which grandstand you want to sit on which day, if you know what I mean. So for example, if you get the pit grandstand combination ticket, you'll be sat at the pits on the Sunday. On the Saturday, you'll be at Stamford Grandstand, and then on the Friday, you'll be at the Padang Grandstand. So I guess your access over the weekends kind of increase. So let's skip over the hospitality packages because that's too expensive. For the Super Pit Grandstand, for the 3-day package, it's about 1,988 Singapore dollars. That's almost $2,000. And that is the most expensive option. So for my combination, which is the Padang combination, it is $898. And if you look at the walkabout tickets, the 3-day Zone 4 walkabout tickets is $298. If you get it for each day, it's much cheaper than that. It's about like less than $200. And if you do decide to do the Premier walkabout ticket that allows you access to 4 zones, it is about $598, which is $600. And these are all in Singapore dollars, so if you convert it respectively to US dollars or pounds or euros, it might feel a little bit cheaper. But in Singapore dollars, that's the range, about $200 to $2,000, which is insane. But again, this is the Singapore Grand Prix and we all know what we're paying for. Am I right? So now let's move on to the pit lane walk. I have never been on a pit lane walk in Singapore before. I don't actually even remember if they had them back in the day. Maybe they did. I was just probably too young to even check. Last year, based on what I know from my friends, it is only open to locals. So only if you are a Singaporean, you can apply for a chance to get pit lane walk tickets. They are random. It is completely randomly assigned. You sign up for it a couple of months before, and then I know that you're only being told, I think, the day before. It doesn't require you to have tickets, so if you are a Singaporean and you don't have tickets, you can also apply for it. I'm not gonna lie, I would personally like it better if you had tickets and then that entitles you to apply for the pit lane walk tickets, because let's be real, last year I know a lot of people who got pit lane walk tickets and knew absolutely nothing about the sport, and I just feel like it was unfair for people who loved it. My friend was absolutely devastated because she couldn't get to go and she's been watching for years. So that's all I have to say about that. But yeah, unfortunately for Singapore, it's only available for locals. So now let's talk about traveling to and from the circuit, and I can confidently say that Singapore is the easiest circuit on the calendar to travel to. Why? Because my country is so small and we have one of the most efficient transport systems in the world, I believe. Whether you're taking a bus, whether you're taking a train. In fact, taking public transport is probably faster and more convenient than driving or even taking a taxi. So our train system in Singapore is called the MRT, and there are basically MRT stations everywhere in the country. everywhere. So you do not have to worry about it at all, because even if you get off at a station, it's basically like a couple of minutes walk to the next station. They're literally everywhere. It does get a bit crazier during the Singapore GP weekend because of the amount of people, and because it's a street circuit, they've had to shut down a lot of roads. That's why I said taking necessarily a bus or a taxi might be more inconvenient, because there's a lot of roads they can't have access to. So definitely take the train. The trains are super cheap as well. It is basically like $1 or $2 per trip. You can just use your contactless, tap in, take the train, tap out. Super easy. There are 7 different gates around the Singapore street circuit, and each gate there is an MRT nearby. You do not have to fear about being late or being stuck in traffic. The country is so small, it literally takes 20 minutes or up to a half an hour to get from one end of the country to the other. And if you're staying within the downtown city, it will literally take you 5 minutes to get to the circuit. Do not fear. We have so many different types of lines and stations that you can transfer. So even if you're not on a direct line, it will literally take you less than 10 minutes. So do not fear. So at gate 1, the closest MRT is the Nickel Highway Station MRT. That's on the Circle line. And at gate 2, which gives you access to zone 2, the closest station is the Promenade MRT station, and that's the Circle line and the Downtown line, which is the yellow and blue line. At gate 3, there are 2 gates. There's gate 3A and gate 3B, and there are 2 stations nearby. One is the Esplanade station, which is on the Circle line, that's the yellow line, and the other one is the City Hall station, which is the green line and the red line. They're all a walk away, so don't even worry about it. At gate 4, 5, and 6, the closest MRT station is the Raffles Place MRT station, and that is also the green line and the red line, so you can literally just pop up. You can even take the train to just get from one zone to the other if you're lazy to walk. Just take the train. And then gate 7 is within the circuit, and I'd say the closest MRT station is the Esplanade station. However, you would have to walk underground, an underpass, to get there. If you guys haven't seen that meme of, I think it was last year, where Esteban DNF'd and he had to take the train, go to the train station to go back to the pits, that's exactly what this is. Like, we are so interconnected with the trains. It is so easy to get to, and because of that, there's not a long line to wait, because there are also so many gates and the zones are so spread out. So do not fear, you'd get in the circuit, don't worry about it. So let's talk about the zones. The main happenings are at zones 1 and zones 4. Zones 1 is the F1 Village, and that's where, again, the driver meet and greets are. That's where the Paddock Club is. That's where the pits are. The lounges are all there. You know, if you have access to the Sky Suites, they're also all there. And there's also the Wharf stage and the Sail stage and the Sunset stage. I think there are different acts that are performing there. And for zone 4, that is the main fan zone area. I'm pretty sure that all the activities, such as like the pit stop challenge, the reaction challenge, and I think they should all be at zone 4 as well. Like I said, do check your tickets to make sure you know what zones you are entitled to. And that leads me to the off-track entertainment. The Singapore Grand Prix is known to bring in the biggest acts in the world, because funnily enough, back then F1 wasn't popular here at all, so the only way to attract people to buy tickets to the F1 was to bring in musical guests. So Justin Bieber performed, Katy Perry, Ariana Grande, Bon Jovi, my favorite. They all performed at the Singapore Grand Prix, so we're known to bring in big acts. For this year's 2023 Grand Prix, the main acts are the 88 Rising acts. We've got Kings of Leon, Post Malone, and Robbie Williams. Kind of random, but okay. Based on the entertainment schedule, Some of them will perform in Zone 1 at the war stage, and then the main like big headline acts would be on the main stage at the Padang in Zone 4, so that way everyone can enjoy it. And if you're in Zone 1 and you want to catch the Zone 4 acts, take the train. And then now moving on to merch. I don't know if I need to really explain too much about the merch because it's kind of the same for every circuit. I'm pretty sure the merch will be peppered around the circuit, Zones 1 through 4. And right now, if you're in Singapore and you're exploring Singapore, there are merch pop-ups outside the circuit. So around town, around the Orchard area, there's one at Mandarin Gallery right now. You can get ready. You can also purchase the Slipstream apparel. It will be in time for other races, but yeah, because the Slipstream apparel is now based in Singapore. So that's for merch. I would say that obviously they're gonna mark up the prices a little bit, and in Singapore dollars it might feel like it's a lot more. So I would say a cap is 90 Singapore dollars, a shirt about like 120 to 150, and like a hoodie or a jacket will be over like $200. That's what I've seen. Moving on to food and drinks, as I didn't go to the GP last year, I don't really know what it's like in the circuit, but knowing Singapore standards, they're gonna have a range of different cuisines from Asian to Western to all sorts really. I'm pretty sure the pricing is going to be marked up as well. However, you can find food everywhere in Singapore. No problem. Really cheap as well. So if you don't want to eat in the circuit, eat outside the circuit. Like I said, we are a country that is full of shopping malls, and the whole circuit is surrounded by shopping malls. So get out of the MRT station, you're in a shopping mall. Get out of gate, I don't know, 4, you're in a shopping mall. There's food everywhere. So if you want to eat before you enter the circuit, literally do not even worry about it. I'm not really sure about the restrictions of what you can bring into the circuit. And lastly, the weather. Please be prepared for any sort of weather. In Singapore, it can rain like that. As you could tell from last year, it poured loads before the race started and then it completely stopped. The weather can be very, very temperamental. However, as we are a tropical country and we are in a warm climate, you don't have to worry about being cold if you're wet, get stuck in the rain. Like, it's just gonna be warm, and then after a while you're probably gonna dry off really quickly. Please be in something comfortable because you will sweat. It is a hot country and a humid one at that as well. So be prepared for rain. Obviously it's a night race, so there's not going to be any sun, but there will be in the day, and it can be very hot as well. So sunscreen in the day, maybe bring a poncho if it rains, but don't worry at all about bringing jackets or windbreakers or things like that. Maybe bring an umbrella. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you are traveling to the Singapore Grand Prix or planning to travel to the Singapore Grand Prix in the future, I hope this has addressed any questions you have. I am so excited for my home Grand Prix, and I hope to see some of you guys there. If you do see me, come say hi. I will be vlogging my entire Singapore Grand Prix race weekend, so stay tuned for that video. And I guess that's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!